originally, from a small town there. And we moved all the way down to Cornwall, in the south of England. Now, I got put up, I think, 3 years in this new primary school. Things really seemed to change for the better for a little while. I could have gone to secondary school at 7 years old, but my dad didn't drive, and he had no job. Money wasn't coming in, and he tried to apply for a crisis loan, but his bank was always freezing things, and the landlord got funny. We couldn't financially sort things out, so we ended up having a walk of shame back home. We got on the train with the last bit of money. I remember for many nights, we didn't have any food. We shared like a pack of biscuits together. It was awful. And we ended up homeless. We went back to my hometown. We were very lucky because we had a family friend, my father's friend, that let us stay over for a while. It was for a few months. And then we got rehoused. And this is where my mother got very ill. She ended up chain smoking, vomiting in buckets, sat in a sunroom, and complaining that she felt like javelins were being thrown into her head. Later on, she ended up with psychosis. She was turning the power off and just going crazy. Now, my father was agoraphobic, miserable, and he started becoming abusive, using my mother as a form of narcissistic feed, and where I was encouraged to do the same, where I would make fun of my mother and my dad would laugh. It was a complete disrespect to her for years, and where she got broken down mentally and I watched her cry, she'd pack her bag, she'd run away. She got abused so badly for years and years. Now, she started to laugh in the hallways, in the living room, on the stairs, She would say odd things. She'd stand at the end of my bed at night just staring at me. And I thought she was going to kill me, and I couldn't recognize. I was so mentally screwed up. I had a lot of things going wrong that I'll get to, but my mother would just stand there, stare at me, maybe laugh, and then she'd say good night. And I realize now she just wanted someone to show affection. My mother would break down because my father wouldn't even hug her. They slept, in different beds. My father slept on the couch. They had no relation, and my mother just wanted someone to talk to, someone to care about her. But she was shut out from everything. She wasn't even allowed to use the family computer. My dad was always the one that, watched stuff on the TV. My mum was just there with voices, being tortured, ending up very ill. These autoimmune disorders doctors still can't diagnose properly today. They're always changing their decisions on what's going on. And eventually she tried to take her life in front of me. And this started to give me suicidal ideation. It was 2 years after that. I was 15, I left school. I kept threatening to take my life. The whole way through of school, I had less than 50% attendance, and the children of the families that harassed my parents, or families that knew the families that harassed my parents, started to harass me. We had Lewis Evans and Ethan Davis work together to give me the idea of living in a Truman Show scenario where they would bring up the subject a few times to me, and they would ask me, how would I feel if something like that was happening, where they were paid actors, and it's like some giant TV show, or I live in some kind of weird simulation. What happened after that was they would send their friends to talk to me for many years, and they would drop hints about things in my life that they shouldn't know about. Things I had only told my mum and dad, things I've looked up online in private. And it wasn't like just casually mentioning something like a coincidence. It was directed conversation to say, I know this about you. And that weirded me out. And they were trying to install the very belief that everyone was watching me. And something seemed strange. Like, I kind of caught on, like, this seems engineered, And I was aware of things like Manly P. Hall, Masonic, psychology. So I'll try to explain a little bit. When you have people constantly program into you that this is happening, that people are spying on you, you start to have your threat senses look for that particular thing. And where all of a sudden you're gonna see people's hand gestures and certain notations, and your body, your subconscious, your nervous system is going to see those as potential threats, referencing things in your life indirectly. And so you build a form of paranoia. I can give a good story to explain how this occurs. So there's a makeup artist who has a room full of participants in this experiment. Now, the participants have scars, fake scars put all over their faces. They look horrifically disfigured, and they're given a mirror to take a look at themselves. And then the participants are told that they have to go and take a job interview. Now, the mirrors are taken away, and the makeup artist says, I'm just going to touch up the scars just a little bit. And they remove the scars entirely, and the participants have no idea. And they get sent to a job interview. And as they come back, they begin to report how they were discriminated against, how certain hand gestures would point out that there's, scars, imperfections, marks all over their skin, how they didn't like them for some reason. Whatever their subconscious is trained to pick up on, it's going to treat it as if that's the reality that they're experiencing. Yet, it's revealed to them that the scars were completely removed. And that this story, this experiment, shows to people how the subconscious, the sensing can be programmed. Another example that I like to give is, if you have a child and they don't know much about the world, they're basically on the same level of thinking as a schizotypal person, in the sense that you have lateral thinking and you can't go deep into subjects. If you tell this child about ghost stories, and then you go lock them in a room for the night in an old house, as it gets darker, the house starts to lose all its heat, and you'll get creaks all over the house, and maybe a door might slide open. And the child, its threat sensing, now with the information of the paranormal and ghost stories, is going to start associating those clicks with potentially it could be a ghost. And they'll start noticing those clicks are more apparent than they used to be. And this starts to confirm to them more and more that it could really be a paranormal encounter. And then they'll get colder as the house gets colder. And just like the stories say, the presence of a spirit is the presence of